Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are the land.
Well, it is the quintessential glorious summer Saturday in downtown Cincinnati, and we welcome you to Great American Ballpark. This homestand continues, and the Reds in desperate need of a win as it's Game 2, hosting the Philadelphia Phillies. And hi again, everybody, alongside Chris Welsh and Jim Day. I'm Tom Brennan, and welcome, as always, to Reds baseball. And to get a win, Chris, the Reds need to score some runs. This offense over the last 3 games has had a mighty tough time of it.
Well, it's a short sample size, but it does give you an indication of what Brian Price is trying to work with here. 3 runs, 17 scoreless innings, a team batting average of 160. They're 1 for 14 runners in scoring position. They have no stolen bases, 26 strikeouts, 3 walks. Those are all the things. Now, you got to figure in that time frame, though, they did face Madison Bumgarner, the pitcher of the month in the month of May. They also faced Cole Hamels, who has been just lights out against the Reds nearly every time that he pitches against them. But it does give you a little bit of insight what the problem on his ball club is right now, and it's on offense.
Well, one guy who certainly has done more than his fair share this year, injected into the starting lineup, going all the way back to spring training into the starting rotation, is Alfredo Simon, and already 1 solid start against this Philadelphia team this year.
And that ought to give him a lot of confidence. You know, that was the one thing I think that Alfredo Simon lacked coming into this season, whether he had confidence as a starting pitcher that he could sustain the type of start that he had from the very beginning of the year. But his curveball has been very good, his slider's been very good, and his control overall is the reason he is where he is right now, really dealing on the mound for the Reds. Roberto Hernandez is the right-hander that he will face. He's a veteran. He spent most of his major league career with the Cleveland Indians this year, 2-3 overall. That record might be a little deceiving because, after all, he's kind of like Johnny Cueto. He gets very few runs in support. In fact, his run support average is the lowest in the National League.
It should be noted the Reds have been shut out 6 prior times before last night, and in the next game, Mr. Welsh, their record is
5-1. So expect a big old W on the board today for the Redlegs.
Speaking of Brian Price, Jim Day, we'll hear from him about the recent offensive woes. That's when we return to Fox Sports Ohio.
Is presented by authority of the Cincinnati Reds. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Near perfect weather for the Reds game today. A little bit warmer than yesterday, being in the late afternoon. We're right around 83 degrees at first pitch for you, 84 by the 7th inning. A few extra clouds for the end of the game, and then back down to 83. So a little bit hotter, but maybe that'll work in favor for the Reds today. Let's see if we can turn this series around. Let's go, Reds.
Well, if they're going to turn this series around and this season around, they've certainly got to turn their offense around. The offensive numbers are getting to the glaring point. You look at these numbers right here, and it tells a lot. The largest deficit the Reds have overcome this year is 2 runs. Now, in years past, they were the cardiac kids. No lead was too significant for them to overcome. 14 games with 1 run or less. That is top 5 in the National League in the worst category. And 7 games being shut out. That's tied for 4th in the National League. Brian Price talked today about how his team simply needs to play a more professional game, and he talked more about his team that's struggling right now.
We've had our team meeting, we've had our dugout chat, we've had that stuff. I mean, I think what we have to do is go out there and play better baseball, you know, and I really realistically feel if you have to get out there and constantly motivate players to play the game well, you got the wrong players, and I don't feel like we do. I feel like we have good players here. I have not lost confidence in the dynamics of our lineup, our ability to do things. We certainly need some stronger performances. We need some guys to really step up and really start to perform to their level. If not, we're going to be playing again really low-scoring games, or when, in this case, you know, when games start to get away from us, not have the ability to fight back, and when we do get behind, we're not fighting back very well. And we're going to need to do that, or things aren't going to go well for us this year. We have to fight way harder than we fought to this point.
And we'll see if that battle begins today. It's game 2 of a 3-game set, a late afternoon affair. Phillies and Reds on Fox Sports Ohio.
Well, a beautiful, beautiful Saturday afternoon in Cincinnati and a good crowd on hand. Why not? Great place and a great time of day to watch a ball game. A little after 4 o'clock Eastern time on this Saturday. Ryan Sandberg's Philadelphia Phillies in town, and their lineup brought to you by Meyer. Rollins, Ruiz, and Utley to start it. Ryan Howard in the cleanup spot. Marlon Byrd in right, with Dominic Brown in left field. The latter third of Cesar Hernandez, a third baseman. Lexington native Ben Revere in center field, and Roberto Hernandez on the mound. And going for his team-high 8th win of the year is Reds right-hander Alfredo Simon.
Well, Alfredo Simon, of course, a reliever his whole career until this year, but that 7-3 record has got his overall career numbers. 3 games over 500, 24 wins, 21 losses, and 30 career starts.
Alfredo threw the ball so well, as Chris told you about a little while ago, in his only start so far this year against the Philadelphia Phillies. That's when the Reds went into Philly and won the opening game of the series, only to drop the next 2. And he delivers strike 1 to Jimmy Rollins in this one underway. In that game, Alfredo 7 2/3 innings, 5 hits, no runs, struck out a season high 8, and walked only 1 batter. And he's ahead of Rollins at 0-2. Jimmy Rollins only 7 hits shy of setting the Philadelphia Phillies all-time franchise hits record. He had 1 hit last night, 2,228 in his career, and a line drive at Phillips for the first out of the afternoon.
Now you see the numbers on Alfredo, like a lot of pitchers around baseball. If you get to him, you get to him early. First 15 pitches of the ball game, he gives up the home runs. Rest of the games, very few. In fact, he has not given up any runs after the 4th inning. Simon has. So he is a guy that sometimes takes a little while to settle in, but when he does, he finds his groove.
Carlos Ruiz, a Philadelphia catcher, looks at a strike. Ruiz had 2 hits and 5 at-bats last night. Philly scored 8 runs on 11 hits in that 8-0 win. And Alfredo, 4 pitches, and now 5 pitches, all of them strikes. Reds beginning play today at 27 up, 32 down. They're 7.5 behind the front-running Brewers, who lost again last night. Brewers are really struggling. Cardinals lost last night in Toronto, but came back to win an early game today north of the border behind Shelby Miller. A 5-0 Cardinal win. Milwaukee will be playing. In fact, they're just now underway. Same start time as we are, playing at Pittsburgh. And a 2-hopper down to the sure-handed Ramon Santiago. 2 away. Quick glance at the Reds on defense, presented by your Ford dealers. Second game in a row where Santiago has gotten the nod over at third, pushing Frazier over to first base. Mesoraco back in the lineup, and Schumacher is starting out in left field.
But I think the whole reason for that lineup the way it is right now is that you've got Brian Pena, who's been a pretty good backup first baseman, really in the midst of a terrible slump, 0 for 15. So they wanted to get him out. Frazier in the lineup, so they put him at first, and Santiago takes over at third base.
Chase Utley had a big night in the series opener. He was on base 4 times. 3 singles, hit by a pitch, and knocked in a run with a sacrifice fly. One and 2 the count on Chase Utley with 2 down and nobody on. Just underway, and delighted to have you with us. And this should be a 1-2-3 opening inning, and it is. So a real good start for Alfredo. Reds are coming to bat, hoping those bats will come alive. Northwest Ohio, brought to you by your local Ford dealer. Ford, go further. By Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. By AT&T, mobilizing your world. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good. It's Skyline time. Feeling good coming to the ball game from across the river. Reds lineup brought to you by Meyer, Hamilton, Schumacher, Phillips, Jay Bruce, Devin Mesoraco, Todd Frazier, Zach Cozart, Ramon Santiago, Alfredo Simon, against the artist formerly known as Fausto Carmona.
And that artist formerly known as Fausto was a solid part of the Cleveland Indians pitching rotation for about 6 years. Good sinker ball pitcher with a changeup, keeps the ball down, normally gets a lot of strikeouts. In fact, Roberto Hernandez is his real name, and they didn't find that out until after he'd been in the big leagues a while, and he missed the entire 2012 season with some visa problems. And of course, part of the reason was he tried to convince people in baseball that he was younger than he actually was, something that happens, and more happened in the past, a lot more than it has now. And the reason for that is that if you can convince the guy that's going to sign you to a contract that you're younger than you really are, it increases your value and your bonus is higher. And as long as they were getting away with it, a lot of people tried it.
Billy Hamilton, a .255 batter with a home run, 10 runs batted in. He has 22 stolen bases, trying to ignite what has been a dormant and very quiet Reds offense over the last 3 games. And the pitch coming, and it's taken high, a full count to Billy Hamilton.
Now, this is where Billy Hamilton can really do himself a favor by figuring out at least a little bit of what the strike zone feels like. What he's been really susceptible to is chasing breaking balls down when behind on the count.
And he draws a walk, so that's a good start to the Reds' first inning. The defense presented by Ford behind Hernandez. Ben Revere gets his first start in this, the second game of this series. Likewise for Cesar Hernandez down at third. And the rest of that infield that has been together for a decade. Rollins, Utley, and Howard. Skip Schumacher now the batter, and Hamilton running on the first pitch. And Ruiz throws, and it is not in time. Stolen base number 23 for Billy Hamilton. Well, he doesn't waste much time.
Well, why would you? I mean, even with a slide step, and I mean, that's about as compact as Hernandez is going to be able to get. Hamilton is still there ahead of the throw. Now, Ryan Sandberg is going to come out. He's going to talk to the second base umpire about this. Meanwhile, the Phillies are going to man the video booth inside their clubhouse and figure out whether this is something worth asking for a review or not.
Apparently it's not.
Yeah, I imagine now that the small talk between manager and umpire is completely different. It's probably not even about the play. It could be about dinner reservations or the game last night. Or did you see the blimp earlier today? It used to be, how can you call that guy safe when he was clearly out? Now they have nothing to do with the decision, so why even talk about it?
Well, now Schumacher trying to advance Hamilton on to third base. He's out there at second with nobody out. The last time the Reds scored a run 17 innings ago was a Todd Frazier home run off Madison Bumgarner in that Thursday afternoon game in the very first inning. One account on Schumacher, and clearly trying to roll over that ball to the right side and fouls it off. 0-2 on Skip. Boy, another great crowd And I know we say it over and over and over again, but look, you don't know how long it's going to last. I mean, these summer days here, the last 4 days, not a cloud or barely a cloud in the sky. Temperatures in the high 70s, mid 70s. It has just been spectacular here in Cincinnati. 1-2 the count on Schumacher. Hernandez, among the most deliberate pitchers it has been going back to his Cleveland days, takes a lot of time out there on the mound. And again, pulled to the right side, but again, foul.
And that's what Schumacher's trying to do right here. Obviously, get that runner to third base. With the Reds scoring so few runs, especially in the last 3 games. I mean, any little thing that you can do to help get that runner closer to home. And in this case, nobody out, runner at second. You just have to get him over to third and make it easy on Brandon Phillips to drive him in.
Well, this is not going to do it, but not taking the chances, Rollins, so it all ends well. As Hamilton is so fast, the seed planted momentarily in the mind of Jimmy Rollins that I better not try.
You know, the other thing that Hamilton did on that play was he took a little bit of a line towards over here where he kind of cut off the angle of throw from Jimmy Rollins. He's going to move a little bit, and Rollins is thinking to himself, you know what, I'm going to throw this ball, and it's going to get to third base at exactly the same time Hamilton is. He's somewhat taking away the throwing lane. I could hit him in the back, not get it out. I'll just take the sure out right here, and maybe they can get Phillips.
So a runner at third with 1 away here in the Reds' first inning. Brandon at .271, 4 home runs and 22 runs batted in. And he's hit with the first pitch from Hernandez.
That's coming right on up and in there. Now, Roberto Hernandez has had a history of having pretty good control, but he walked the first batter of the game, so maybe there's nothing meant there. I don't know if there's anything ever going on between those two or not.
Well, the only thing that makes you wonder is, you know, Phillips used to be in the Cleveland organization, and of course, you know, every time Brandon, once he wound up with the Reds, I mean, he was out to get the Indians every single time the teams would get together against one another. And more times than not, he was wearing them out. Don't remember anything that stands out necessarily, though, with, again, the pitcher now, Roberto Hernandez, who used to be called Fausto Carmona. Jay Bruce looks at strike one. Runners on the corners, 1 away in the inning. The only time that Hernandez and Phillips actually played on the same team together, Phillips was a little bit ahead, a level or two ahead of Hernandez coming up through the minor leagues. Brandon made it to the big leagues for the first time in '02. But in 2004, Phillips did spend time in Buffalo. But Hernandez only made 1 start that year at Buffalo. You look into 2005, and both of them spent time in Buffalo that year as well. 2-2 now on Jay Bruce. A very, very important scoring opportunity for the Reds here, just to get the monkey off their backs, having not scored in 17 innings. And they have runners on the corners with only 1 out in the inning. And this one is in the air to left center field. Brown able to make the catch. So Jay Bruce a sac fly RBI, and there you go. 1-0 Reds in the first inning today.
Well, Hernandez trying to get a double play ball through. It looked like a changeup, but he just got it up, and Bruce did a good job of getting under that ball and getting it into the outfield. A little change in attitude in that Reds dugout when you score a run in the first inning as opposed to, say, rolling into a double play ball and ending it all then.
Now Devin Mesoraco, he was not in the lineup last night. Pena behind the plate when Johnny Cueto was on the mound. Devin 9 home runs, 27 batted in, a .321 average. It's a foul ball. That pitch tied him up. He's lucky he got a foul ball out of it.
Well, I think he got a foul ball out of it because it hit his bat and then hit his body. But it really did tie him up. It looked like the catcher Ruiz wanted that ball down and away and then missed up and in. Hernandez got that ball running all over the place.
And that strike 3 called to Mesoraco. The Reds score without a hit. They take advantage of a walk, a stolen base, a ground out, and a fly ball. 1-0 at the end of 1. Time for our IGS bringing the energy. Alfredo Simon. Now, if you project out his year based on what has happened so far through his first 11 starts, how about those numbers right there, Mr. Wells?
Well, that is if you can project out, and it is very impressive. It would give him a 20-win season, and that's been a long time since we've seen that. Maybe the most surprising 20-game winner in all of baseball, if it does turn out like that. But you've got to wonder about innings pitched for Simon. Overall, a guy who's been a reliever for the most part of the last few years, whether his arm is up to it, whether his legs are up to it. It can be a long season, so we'll see which way the Reds go. I mean, really, this could be possibly one of the last starts that Alfredo Simon has as a Red. With Matt Latos looming to come back off the disabled list, I guess he's going to go down and throw another rehab start. But depending on what the decision is finally made between Simon and maybe Tony Cingrani in the rotation, you just really never know which way the Reds are going to lean.
Well, Ryan Howard set to begin things in the Philadelphia second inning. The Reds on top 1-0. Alfredo had a 1-2-3 first inning on just 12 total pitches, 9 of which were strikes. And on the first pitch, they slap it the other way against the shift. So a base hit by Ryan Howard.
Well, they shift Ryan Howard so much, and sometimes when you have a shift like that, you're thinking, well, it's going to give me an indication of where they're going to pitch me. But that time, Simon pitched him really against the strength of the shift by throwing the pitch on the outside corner.
So that'll bring Marlon Byrd to the plate. And he looks at a first pitch fastball. Strike one to Marlon Byrd. Byrd one hit in 4 at-bats last night, had a double. He also was hit by a pitch and scored a run on that big 2-run double by Dominic Brown against Johnny Cueto in the 3-run 4th inning. 0-2 now on Marlon Byrd.
When you get back to that shift, Tom, I had an interesting conversation before the ball game today with the Phillies manager Ryne Sandberg about that. And I asked him, I said, you guys shifting a lot? He says, well, no, but we're doing it more and more. We're kind of experimenting with it. I like looking at the numbers. There's certainly more and more teams doing it. But back in his day when he played, very few teams shifted. Maybe one player who was around. Well, you know, Willie Stargell may be the guy that they would shift on. But most everybody else they didn't shift on. And there's certainly a lot of reason for it. But he said, you know, the first thing I was taught, if there was the defense saying playing a certain way, I was taught to look at the defense. Because how could they determine where I was going to hit the ball? Because I may try to hit the ball a different way. Of course, he had pretty good bat control, Sandberg did, but thought it was kind of an interesting approach. He said he would change where he stood in the batter's box against certain pitchers or certain defenses. And very few hitters nowadays really move around in the box from at bat to at bat, or from day to day.
Marlon Byrd was putting together a very fine year. You may remember for the New York Mets last year, was having a career year. 21 home runs, 71 runs batted in, and the Pirates went out and made the move to acquire him. They acquired Justin Morneau. That ball is blasted into left field, and that baby is gone. And Marlon Byrd with a 2-run home run to give Philadelphia the 2-1 lead here in inning number 2. Tenth home run allowed by Alfredo Simon in 69 innings this year, and for Byrd that's his 9th.
It looked like he reached out for it. He was behind in the count. Simon wanted to waste that pitch. It was a curveball. And he just kind of left that baby right over the center of the plate, and Byrd hooks it out of here. Well, that's a kind that really hurt as a pitcher, because you've got the guy where you want him. You're ahead of him, 1 ball and 2 strikes, and you simply don't throw the ball where you want to.
So Byrd a 2-run home run, and the Philadelphia Phillies erase that 1-0 deficit and turn it into a 1-run lead. 0-1 on Dominic Brown. It's off the outside corner to even the count. I think a lot of people were very surprised that the Pirates did not bring Dominic Brown, or rather, as Brown bounces out to shortstop, did not bring back Marlon Byrd, because he had a very positive impact on that Pirate team after they acquired him. In 30 games, he hit almost .320 and knocked in 17 runs. He had the big game, the big home run against Johnny Cueto in that 1-game playoff. Carried that right into the division series, where he had 6 hits and 18 at-bats, as the Pirates wound up, of course, losing in that series to the Cardinals. Cesar Hernandez getting to start at third base. We had Reed Brignac there last night. 1-1 on Hernandez. Slow roller right side. Frazier the feed. And covering quickly Alfredo Simon for the second out of the inning.
It's a nice play by Frazier there because he gets the ball to Simon well before Simon has to hit the bag. If he doesn't get rid of that ball quickly and toss it off to Alfredo, Alfredo's got to look behind him to get it. So immediately he's going to lead him right there, and Simon then can look down at his feet and find the bag. It's almost been like an ongoing audition down there at first base, has it not, with the absence of Joey Vado? We've seen Roger Bernardino play a game there. We've seen, of course, a lot of Brian Pena, Todd Frazier.
Of course, the big news around here is that Joey Vado is going out on a rehab to Pawtucket, where he will play, of course, for the Louisville Bats. Jim Day, I'm sure we'll have more on that. Chris, you've been following that. Well, really both situations, both Joey Vado and, of course, Matt Latos. Boy, Latos had some pretty harsh words yesterday before the game on his situation. We're going to hear more from Brian Price on Joey Vado when we come back. 2-run home run by Bird, 2-1 Philadelphia.
I think that we have to test the knee and the quad in a game environment. Joey's run the bases, he's taken ground balls, he's taken batting practice. I think he needs to play in the game. He'd probably play somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 or 6 innings and see how he holds up. That's one thing we haven't been able to replicate over the course of his rehab, and then see how he feels not only post game but after the next day, and see how he comes through it, and then we'll evaluate on when we can get him back here.
This game storylines brought to you by Elk & Elk. Serious lawyers for serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. I'm Jim Day. That was Brian Price talking about Joey Vado. Today is a travel day. We've continued the Joey Vado watch, and finally it has left Cincinnati. He is on the way to Pawtucket. He will play for the Louisville Bats tomorrow, and Brian Price says it is a day-to-day thing. They will reevaluate him after one day, so no word whether it be one rehab stint or more.
Or we're tied up in Cincinnati. Long ball, Todd Frazier.
I'll tell you what, when this guy hits him, they really go a high, look like a cutter. I'm not so sure that Hernandez ever wants to pitch up that high. Right out the front door. They got a big crowd here this afternoon. They like it.
Frazier home run number 13. 11 of those have come here at Great American Ballpark. He's got his
I like what he does with Latos.
Yeah, now that Latos is back and not on a rehab assignment, he can finish it off with him. I want to know when Jim Day gets in on that mix. Jim, when are you going to be a part of that home run celebration and another handshake for Frazier?
It would have to be pregame because I am off limits to go in that part of the dugout. However, as we've said before the game, he comes over here in the camera well, gives knuckles to everyone, including our camera operator. So that's my part. Very little part.
All right.
But if you want me to invent one, I will invent one for you. And we'll do it on camera.
I think it'd be great.
All right. You're on. I'll let Frazier come up with it, though, because I'm not very creative in those things.
Now, you've reported about all the different ones that he does have with different teammates. Is he the one coming up, or is it kind of choreographed between him and whatever teammate it might be?
I think it's choreographed between the two teammates,
right.
But Frazier does come up with a lot of them. I don't know the one with him and Latos. I'm going to have to investigate that one, because that's a pretty good one. By the way, when he comes off the field and he points up into the stands, he's pointing to his wife and his new son is named Blake, and they call them Blake Bombs. She goes on Twitter and tweets Blake Bomb number 13 in this
Very
case.
nice.
Yes.
Now Ramon Santiago after the ground out by Cozart, and Ramon looks at a pitch low and in, ball one. So a run in the first inning, now a run in the second inning after going 17 consecutive innings without a run. And we're tied at 2 here in inning number 2. Santiago, all those years over the American Leagues, you saw 24 at-bats in his career against Hernandez. Ramon spent a lot of that time, of course, with the Tigers. They were playing in the same division as the Indians. 2 balls and 2 strikes on Santiago. Hernandez had some good seasons now with Cleveland. He was a 19-game winner with an ERA barely over 3 for the Tribe in 2007. He went to the All-Star game in 2010, pitching for a bad Cleveland team. He won 13, lost 14, but an ERA slightly over 3.5. But it was 2011 where his spiral downward began.
And it began the first day of the season, too, because he was the opening day starter on April the 2nd. And he had essentially the worst opening day start in Major League history. The only opening day starter that's been tagged for 10 runs. He pitched 3 innings that ball game. And it wasn't very good from then on, really, for Hernandez. An interesting career, though. When he made his Major League debut in 2006, that's when they traded their closer in July, Bob Wickman, to the Atlanta Braves. So they decided to make Hernandez, who at that time Fausto Carmona, the closer. That did not work at all. He went on to record 4 losses and 3 blown saves in a short period of time. And then in 2007 came back as a starter and had a heck of a year. In fact, he got some Cy Young consideration. And the reason he got called up in 2007 is because his current teammate Cliff Lee went on the disabled list in Cleveland. So they needed a pitcher. They went down and got Hernandez. And of course, those 2 guys are reunited here in Philadelphia.
Hernandez spent all of last year pitching for Tampa Bay, where he was a double-digit loser on a good Rays team that won better than 90 games. 2-1 the count on Alfredo Simon. Runner at first, 1 in, 1 out, 2 balls and a strike to Alfredo Simon, who bunts it right back to the mound, and Hernandez will think about it and changes his mind to take the sure out. Sacrifice by Simon is 3rd. A reminder, coming up a little bit later on, our Miller Time moment will come your way, presented by Miller Lite. So now a 2-out chance for Billy Hamilton to put the Reds back on top. He has Santiago at second with 2 away. Homer Bailey and David Buchanan get together tomorrow. That's a 1:10 start, and in this homestand rolls right along. A 4-gamer that begins on Monday night against the Dodgers. Sembrani and Dan Herron. Tuesday, Mike Leake, Josh Beckett, Johnny Cueto, Hyunjin Ryu on Wednesday, and then Simon and Zach Greinke on Thursday afternoon. The Reds will miss the reigning Cy Young Award winner, Clayton Kershaw. Billy walked, stole a base, scored a run in the opening inning. 1-1. Pretty good patience here for a second straight at bat by Billy Hamilton.
Yeah, I really like the approach that Billy's taken this afternoon. And, you know, he told me before the ball game he's been really working on his defense. I mean, he's been talking to the pitchers, where do you want them to play and so on. And we talked a little bit about his 2-strike actions up there, sometimes willing to chase balls out of the zone, being anxious, but he's not a bit anxious here today.
2-2. Hamilton looking for his 11th run batted in on this season. He has Ramon Santiago, the go-ahead run at second with 2 out. And another foul ball, this time off to the third base side. Milwaukee and Pittsburgh, and the Brewers with a 1-0 lead as the Pirates bat with 2 on and 1 out in the bottom of the second inning. We told you the Cardinals have already shut out Toronto today, 5-0 a final. And barely making contact, and then pops right out of the mid of Ruiz, so Hamilton still hanging in there. Colorado Rockies have lost 8 games in a row to slip to 4 games under 500 and a whopping 11.5 behind the front-running San Francisco Giants, who won again last night. Back to the mound, and that'll do it for the Reds in the inning. But they tie the game on a Todd Frazier home run. Hit it for his little guy, Blake. And then business in the dugout with Latos. Well, Sundays are always family days here at Great American Ballpark. Every Sunday home game, you can take advantage of the Reach Magazine family deal. And here it is. When one member of the family buys a full price ticket, they then get the option to purchase 3 additional tickets at half price. How are you going to beat that? Call 513-381-REDS. Visit select Kroger location or log on to reds.com/family. A lot of families in attendance on this Saturday. 2-2 game as the Phillies bat against Alfredo Simon in the top of the 3rd inning. Roberto Hernandez 0 for 17 as a batter so far this year.
Yeah, we could really call
mask off of Mesoraco. That's a clean shot right there.
Sorry, Tom. Well, you know, we could really call this matchup, this batter-pitcher matchup, or this pitcher versus pitcher matchup, a matchup of aliases, because Alfredo Simon also pitched under a different name when he was first signed by the Philadelphia Phillies. When they signed him in July of 1999, his name that he used anyway was Carlos Cabrera, and he pretended to be 21 months younger than he was. And they found out later on, and they didn't like it. Essentially, they traded him shortly after that, and he pitched under that for about 3 years before they found out. And they traded him with Ricky Leday to the San Francisco Giants in exchange for Felix Rodriguez. As I said, it was rather common by not just guys that made it to the major leagues, but a lot of players. I mean, they're just trying to get out of a very poor situation. In some cases, extreme poverty. And you can learn that if you could just change your name and shave off a few months off your age, that you would get a much bigger bonus, which you would probably share with your entire extended family and do everybody a lot of good.
For a long time.
And the Major League Baseball has really cracked down heartily on that now. It's a much different situation. There's much more verification, identification needed than ever before. I think it's a good thing, but you can certainly understand why guys did that when they did.
But Chris, don't you have a little bit of both of those things going on to some extent? You know, there were some guys that were lying about being a little bit older because you're not allowed to sign until you're 16 years old, right?
Correct.
So some guys were trying to get a jump on any bit of money they could by being a little older to get signed at 16. But then it went the other way, and maybe they weren't good enough yet to be signed at 16, where they might be 18, but they want to tell the team they're really 16 or 15 or 17, right?
Right.
So there was a little of both of those things going on. 0-1 to Rollins. He lined out to Brandon Phillips his first time up. Foul ball.
What a long run right there for Skip Schumacher. I mean, he kept coming and coming. That was at one of those spots in the ball field where it's just about the exact equal distance between the left fielder and the shortstop. And they both finally get there about the same time. The spot was right over there.
Sorry about that, Chris. Time to hashtag Ohio fan photo. Tweet it for a chance to have your photo shown during an upcoming game, and it's brought to you by AT&T. One and two on Jimmy Rollins. And it's off the outside edge to even the count. 3-2 delivery on Jimmy Rollins, and in the air to straightaway center field. That ball's hit a long way, but Hamilton will run it down. 2 out in the inning. I know you had a big night in the Welsh household last night, Christopher.
Yeah, we did. We graduated my youngest son, McLean. Of course, you know him as Mac, from Ryle High School, and very proud of him. And we've had 4 children now graduate through Ryle High School. Wonderful school over there. Mr. Matthew Turner, the principal, did a great job last night and just talked to all the graduates, and really great night anytime. And I know you'll be looking forward to it in years from now.
A long time.
High school graduation this time of year, they seem to be going on all the time, and it's congratulations to him.
Well, and all of your kids, including Mac, have done so. I mean, not well. They have done spectacularly well in their academic lives during high school. I mean, all of them have done so well where they've earned a little scholarship money to college, if not all of it.
Yeah, he earned a nice scholarship to the University of Louisville. He graduated summa cum laude, which I never even knew what that was.
No, especially in South Florida, you would not know that. No. They don't have that program down there.
You're right. Closest they came was magma cum laude. Something to do about earthquakes, I think. Volcanoes.
Yeah. Congratulations, Mac. We're very proud of you, very happy for you.
Very much so.
Two and 2 on Carlos Ruiz. And it swung on and fouled out of play. Alfredo really having to work these last couple of innings. You may remember he only threw 12 pitches in a 1-2-3 first inning. And now his next pitch, with 2 away here in the third, will be number 47.
You know, you don't really see very many catchers in the number 2 spot. That's where Carlos Ruiz is. He's doing quite well there. He's always had a pretty high on-base percentage. This year, that on-base percentage is bumped up close to 400. Batting .282 coming into the ball game. Usually hits you anywhere from 8 to 10 home runs a year. But he'll take a walk, and he does not strike out very much at all.
Fly ball into left field, playable for Schumacher, and a 1-2-3 third for Alfredo Simon. 2-2 ball game. Reds come to bat. Ohio.com, Hal McCoy has a full story on Matt Latos' unhappiness about the one rehab start he'll have to make. One more. Get a full recap on the Reds draft picks from this weekend. And are the Cavaliers looking overseas for their next head coach? It's all at FoxSportsOhio.com, brought to you by 1-800-SAFE-AUTO. Drive safe, spend less. 2, 3, and 4 in the Reds batting order in a 2-2 game against Roberto Hernandez here in the bottom of the third inning. Schumacher, Phillips, and Jay Bruce. Schumacher, a ground out that did advance Billy Hamilton second to third, his first time up. Two and two on Skip Schumacher. And Hernandez okays a sign with Ruiz, and now the break-even pitch on the way. Off the inside corner. That is a fair ball. Howard will backhand it behind the bag, and that's out number one. Well, for Reds fan, it's a home run off that Toyota sign out in deep right center field. Brad Burnett of Crittenden, Kentucky will win the beautiful new Tundra on display here at the ballpark. And you can register for your chance to win that baby. Just stop by your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealer. One away for Brandon Phillips, hit by a pitch his first time up. Red scored on a walk to Hamilton, a stolen base, a ground out got him a third, a fly ball by Jay Bruce scored him. Marlon Byrd with a 2-run home run off Alfredo Simon in the very next half inning. And then Todd Frazier tied the game, clubbing his team best 13th home run. It came to straightaway center in the bottom of the second. And on the ground down to the third baseman, Hernandez. 2 out.
Well, this is one of the shifts that the Phillies are going to employ. After talking to Ryan Sandberg, he said, well, we're experimenting with it. This is a full-fledged shift here against Jay Bruce. They've got the third baseman, Cesar Hernandez, over near second base. The shortstop pretty much stays the same where Jimmy Rollins is.
Well, 3-0 on Jay Bruce. And Hernandez to the plate. And nowhere near the strike zone. That is ball 4.
They have not figured out the defensive shift to counter a base on balls.
So Mesoraco with Bruce aboard. Well, he had a pitch to hit right there and didn't have a lot of velocity on it, so just had to start his swing and a little slight hesitation before he unloaded. Wow.
That ball may have just been a little bit hair inside on him too. Well, when he gets a pitch on the inner part of the plate, he leaves nothing behind.
Came up and in that time, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike on Mesoraco. Hernandez in the game has already walked 3 batters. He's also hit a batter. Taking off Bruce, throw down to second base, not going to be in time.
Sneak attack.
Jay Bruce, a perfect 7 for 7 in stolen base attempts this year.
Roberto Hernandez or Fausto Carmona, whoever he has been when he's been on the mound, has never been very good at holding runners on. This year, that is the 9th, make it the 10th successful stolen base, including 2 today, against only 1 catcher's caught stealing. In his career now, he's given up 114 successful stolen bases. Catchers have only thrown out 31. So he's definitely the kind of guy that you want to take a chance on.
Well, now Mesoraco with a base hit has a chance to give the Reds their 2nd lead of the game. And it's in the air, short right field. Utley looking for it, calling for it, catching it, inning over. We play 3. Reds and Phillies are tied at 2. American Ballpark, downtown Cincinnati. Our producer of Reds Baseball, Josh Hall. Our director is Roy Alfers. And with us each and every day at Sigafoos, Lauren White, Joel Luckham up here in the booth, along with Jim Strickler, Jesse Jackson, and a cast of hundreds. We'll be with you again tomorrow, and then the first 3 games of the Dodgers series. We will not be televising that Thursday afternoon game. And by the way, tickets are available for each and every one of the games remaining on this homestand. Part of the order against Alfredo Simon in the Philadelphia 4th inning. Utley, Howard, and Marlon Byrd. And Utley trying to bunt his way on. Good bunt. And a good play by Alfredo Simon. It's a big man coming off that mound now, almost 275 pounds, and he got there quickly.
He did, and it's a good thing he did, too, because it was laid down in a perfect spot. And Utley, even though he has had some major surgery, hip surgery, he still gets down the line, and that was bang, bang at first base. Not really much of a stretch, actually, by Todd Frazier. He could have made that a lot more obvious and out at first base with a little better stretch, kind of reaching out for the baseball, but they got their man. Well, there's a lot more to playing first base than just standing down there and taking a throw from the infielders. You don't realize it until you get out there and play a little bit. The footwork around the bag takes a lot of practice. Practice scooping bad balls in the dirt, practicing fielding bad throws across the bag, down the line, slap tags as runners go by. How to apply a tag to a diving runner coming back into the bag, either standing up or diving. Tough to take a crash course. So you remember that, coach, next time you put someone not used to it over there at first base.
I appreciate that insight.
You had a big day yesterday too, after the ball game, or before the ball game. Did you not have a double header?
We had one on Thursday.
Yep. You got knocked off the perch of the unbeatens.
We were 11-0, and in the first of two, we lost to the All Saints, over there by Moeller High School,
my alma mater.
They got us in the first game, and then we played them in the nightcap, and we kicked them around pretty good. But they got us in the first one. Good group of guys over there. That was some of the wisdom you were sharing with me before the ball game today, and it certainly was interesting to hear it, because when you're coaching your kids' teams, and I was lucky enough to coach both our son and daughter's basketball teams during this past winter, and enough time to coach my son's not old team here this spring and early summer. But you were talking about watching your son play in a game earlier today, and how you were reflecting back to the days when he was my son's age.
Yeah. You do that normally at a high school graduation, but today it happened to really come back home again, because I went out and watched this 18U baseball team, and I was sitting with some parents that we once played against. And he said, remember the days we were 9 and 10 years old and these kids were playing mouth hole against each other? It goes quick.
Express. Enter today's keyword chase on the entry page at foxsportsohio.com to enter. Stay tuned every day for a new keyword and a new chance to win. I'm Jim Day, back with you. So I'm perusing the internet earlier, doing some research, and I come across the headline, Pete Rose to manage again. And I'm like, come again? Not exactly what you think, but he is going to manage for one day, and he's going to do it in the Independent League. He's going to manage the Bridgeport Bluefish on June 16th. He says he's doing it because he simply loves baseball. And he had a quote that is vintage Pete Rose. He said he's going to look at each one of the players in the eye before the game, say that you guys have more ability than I had when I was 18 years old. I was too slow. They told me I didn't have a strong arm or had no power, but I outworked, out-hustled everyone and had more determination. You guys go after it.
Well, that's great stuff. I bet they'll sell a few tickets. Where is that team playing, Jim? Did you say? I beg your pardon?
Bridgeport. The Bridgeport Bluefish in the Independent League.
That's in Connecticut, right?
I'm going to say that that's Rhode Island, but I could be off on my geography there. No, you're probably right. Connecticut. Tom, I don't know.
Listen, Tom, I'm a baseball guy. I don't know geography.
It is Connecticut.
But
not too far from New Haven, Connecticut.
I would bet money that there are probably 5 or 7 or 10 Bridgeports in the United States of America. Sure. Now, not all of them obviously have an independent league baseball team. I never realized there's another Cincinnati until you go to try to plug in on the Weather Channel or something. You know, Cincinnati. There's a Cincinnati, Iowa. 3-2 to Todd Frazier. And that one lined into right field, and Frazier a base hit. He homered his first time up. So in this 2-2 ball game, the leadoff man aboard for the Redlegs here in the bottom of the 4th inning.
You know, when you watch Todd Frazier hit, I never really get the impression that he's trying to hit the ball to right field. I get the impression he's trying to hit the ball up the middle hard, and sometimes his bat is just a hair slow in the zone, and that's when he hits the ball hard right out of the catcher's mitt. But he's swinging hard every time, and of course he's got plenty of power to leave the ballpark in any spot, as he did his last time up right out the front door center field. You see it hit it hard. There he goes.
And why even bother to throw down there? I mean, Ruiz has no chance, and that's stolen base number 5 in 7 attempts for Todd Frazier.
That's just heads-up baseball right there, and not heads-up baseball by Hernandez. I mean, he acts like he's looking at first base, but he's really not. And the scatter reports will tell you that, and I got to tell you that the scatter reports a lot of times make that happen ahead of time. Sean Pender is the advanced scout for the Reds, and obviously followed the Phillies around a couple of times, and going to make that observation about Hernandez.
All right, now let's see if Kozar can get Frazier in and push across that go-ahead run. Sinking liner right center. Revere dives, cannot get it. Frazier will score, and Kozar with a run-scoring double, and the Reds have a 3-2 lead.
Well, that's got to feel awfully good for Zach Kozar hitting his line drive. First of all, at the very least, he's going to get a runner over because he hits it to the right side. He gets it in front of the center fielder, picks up his 9th double of the year. You know, he really kept his balance that time. He didn't get his nose too far out over his toes and lose his good foundation. Was able to drive that ball on a nice line.
finds a hole into left field. They're going to hold Cozart at third base, so single, double, single to open up this Cincinnati bottom of the fourth inning.
At the bottom of the order, really getting it done. 2 for 2 is Frazier. Cozart's got a single, or double that is, and so Santiago goes the other way to find a hole here. So I'd imagine with nobody out, Alfredo Simon will get the same assignment he had back in the second inning when he was asked to lay down a bunt for a sacrifice. No action, it doesn't appear anyway, down the Phillies bullpen. Bobby McClure, former left-handed pitcher for a long time in the major leagues, mainly with the Milwaukee Brewers as pitching coach.
Santiago does not have a stolen base attempt as a Cincinnati Red. Reds already with 3 stolen bases in this game, and that is perfectly placed by Alfredo Simon. And once Hernandez finds a handle, he'll flip to the covering Utley for the first out. Santiago to second. Second and third, one away. Billy Hamilton coming up, and we invite you to follow the Reds all year long with MLB.com and back on your favorite mobile phone or tablet. You can download it on the App Store. Visit Reds.com today for more details. Billy Hamilton walked, stole a base, scored a run in the first inning. He left a runner at second base on a ground ball to the mound in the second. Sandberg brings his infield in at all 4 positions, and Hamilton a fly ball plenty deep enough to bring in a run. Tagging and scoring from third base Cozart. Good work by Billy Hamilton, and the Reds extend the lead. It's now 4-2.
Now, a good play by Billy right there. A good plan as he comes to the plate. You know, the pitcher in that situation wants to keep the ball in the infield. But he threw that ball up in the zone. Hamilton looking for a ball up that he can get into the outfield. Well, the Reds are doing today the little things that they have just not been able to do consistently the last few weeks, really all year long, if you go back to that way.
Schumacher down, strike one with Santiago out at second base, and now 2 out.
Lose enough one-run ball games, and those little things become chronic. Or at least a failure to do so.
Pirates have scored a pair of runs, and they now lead Milwaukee 2-1. That game in the 4th inning. We told you earlier the Cardinals shut out Toronto 5-0 in a game played very early this afternoon. And here the Reds with a 2-run 4th inning have broken a 2-2 tie. 1-2 to Skip Schumacher. And that'll do it in the Reds inning. But they get hits by Frazier, Cozart, Santiago. Couple of bunts, an RBI sac fly, and a 4-2 lead. Sports Magazine family ticket offers. And don't forget, tomorrow the first 8,000 kids 14 and younger receive a Kids Brandon Phillips growth chart thanks to College Advantage. Alfredo Simon surrendered the 2-run home run in the second inning to Marlon Byrd. And since then, he's retired 9 in a row. He is now staked to his second lead of the game. The Reds got him a 1-0 advantage at the end of one. The home run erased that. But the Reds tied it in the bottom of the second. They get 2 in the fourth and a 4-2 lead as Dominic Brown looks at ball 1 to open the fifth inning. Well, Chris, we were trying to talk about earlier both Joey Vado and Matt Latos. Of course, you've been around this game for a long time, and I know you've been really keeping a watchful eye on what both of these guys are up. There's a base hit into right field by Brown. On what these guys are up to, you know, trying to get to a point where they're ready to go out on a rehab or during their rehab. How long do you figure, you know, that timing which you talked about 2 nights ago in reference to Joey Vado? And how long, you know, game action do you figure it takes a player to feel like they're ready when they go out on a rehab assignment?
Well, from the sound of either of those two players, Latos sounds like he's ready right now.
Yeah.
That he wanted to pitch today. I mean, the way he went off in his little mini press conference yesterday. And I think that he feels like he's been on enough rehab assignments. He came out of his last one with a little bit of a calf strain. He feels like that's okay, and he wants to pitch Major League Baseball. Joey Vado's a different story. I'm not really sure. You know, he went off to Pawtucket today to play with the Louisville Bats. I hope it's going to be all right for him. We don't know. But he's been 20 days gone. Vado has on an injury that was characterized by the team physician early on as something that he could play through. So you're really not sure. At the very least, it's mysterious. And at the very worst, you know, for Vado, he's going to take more time to come back. And, you know, this ball club misses him. There's no question about that. He's the most talented hitter in this whole Reds organization. And when you take that out of the mix, you're looking for substitutes, and it's never quite the same.
One and two on Carlos Hernandez. He bounced out to Todd Frazier, his only at bat of the day. Trying to come in a side gate there and missed it to even the count.
You know, we're really observing those two situations from the outside. We're not in the training room. We're not in with the doctor's office. We don't know what those diagnoses are. And I'm just kind of reading between the lines of what I see. Well, so our question is, what do you see?
You know, I'm with you. I really have no idea.
Is that what
I agree with you 100%. No, you were giving your opinion on you know, based on really the only guy who's come right out in a very forthright way was the situation with Latos yesterday. I mean, he firmly believes, and if the organization feels differently because they need him to do something before they then put him on the major league roster, it's not a case of anybody wrong. They're all right. You know, the team has, you know, a situation they want, or certainly a number of pitches in a game they want to see Latos hit. Unfortunately, he didn't hit it. Latos knows his body. He knows where he is. So he's not wrong in wanting to pitch for the big league club. Now, I think at the end of the day, if you were to ask Matt Latos, you know, could I have handled this a little bit different than the way he did yesterday? I don't know. Maybe he would say yes. But at least you're talking about a player without a shadow of a doubt that wants to be back contributing with his teammates.
Well, I like the guys who want to beat the door down and get into the game. 3-2 on Hernandez. And in the Vado case,
We were on the road in Los Angeles and Arizona last week. We've been back home. We can sit here and watch him do some of the things that you've been watching and monitoring. Jim Day's been watching. But then once he walks back in that clubhouse, like you said, we have no access to the conversations or where they are or where he is in terms of his return. But I know that you and Jim Day will be all over it. Lined into left field, and that is a base hit. So now all of a sudden, after the Reds give Simon his 2-run lead, it's back-to-back hits by Brown and Hernandez.
Hernandez going the other way on a pretty good pitch right there. That ball down and away, and it was one of those in-betweeners for Schumacher. He wanted to make sure that he played that into a single and not into a run-scoring triple, because if he dives and tries to make that play and doesn't make it, that ball goes all the way to the wall. A long way for Billy Hamilton to come to back him up, and that would have scored a run easily. So now the double play still in order, although a very speedy runner here in Ben Revere.
Well, Revere gets a bunt down, and I'm sure there are a lot of folks that watch Philadelphia Phillies baseball that say, finally.
Well, there are a lot of people that are in that Reds dugout saying, what's going on down there defensively? Because Brian Price, of all the times that they have run their PFP, this third baseman ought to be staying at home right here. But you're going to see Santiago coming in. So why are you coming in? You should be staying at third base unless that ball is bunted down the third baseline so hard that you're the only one that's going to make the play. I can tell you one thing. Devin Mesoraco is furious right now because they had a chance to get the lead runner at third base, not able to do it. Now you've run both the runners up a base. The double play is no longer in order, and a base hit will score 2 and tie the game.
Not asking you, Chris, to use it as an excuse. But when guys are playing positions that, quite honestly, they don't play much. Santiago's really never been a third baseman. Now, has he played there some? Yes. But not until the last couple of days has he played down there for the Reds. Frazier is not a first baseman by trade. Could that be any part of it or no?
Could be part of it, yeah. You know, you want to give him a break in that respect, but that's a basic play. I mean, we've seen that play defensively been practiced since you've been in high school. And the bottom line is a third baseman stays at home until he knows he's the only guy that's going to make the play.
John Mayberry Jr. got the start last night. He will come up and bat for Roberto Hernandez here. So Hernandez last 4 innings today. He only gave up 4 hits. Struck out 2, walked 3. Allows 4 runs all earned, and he hit a batter. Runners at second and third, 1 out in the inning, and that one's on the outside corner to get ahead 0-2. Mayberry 1 of 5 in the game last night, knocked in a run with a single. Got him swinging on a fastball at 96 miles per hour up under his hands.
What a great sequence of pitches right there for Alfredo Simon. After running a pitch down and away to him, he comes right back inside, and Mayberry, stale off the bench, goes down in 3 pitches, and that'll be our flamethrower, brought to you by Cholula Hot Sauce 96 with some hair on it.
So now 1 more out to get. Runners at second and third, and there are 2 outs in the inning. Jimmy Rollins about it. Rollins lined out to Brandon Phillips leading off the game, then lined out to Billy Hamilton in center field in the 3rd inning. In the air. Who wants it? Hamilton tracking it. Calls off Cozart. What a job by Alfredo. Pumping his fist, and why not? Gets out of second and third with 1 out in the inning. Reds still lead by a pair. Well, we invite you to get ready for Reds action 30 minutes before the start of every game with Reds Live, presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing, right here on Fox Sports Ohio. And of course, tomorrow we'll get underway at 12:30 with Reds Live. Brian Giesenslaw, Jeff Pecoro, Jim Day, Chris Welsh and company. And the Phillies are going to their bullpen after 4 innings of Roberto Hernandez. They're going to bring on Ethan Martin. Martin just brought back up 2 days ago from their AAA affiliate in Lehigh Valley. Was having a very good year down there. A 1.6 ERA. Began the year on the disabled list and was activated for their minor league club in the middle of May, and now with the big league club. Ball one high to Brandon Phillips.
Well, he had some big league time last year when he pitched in 15 games. In fact, 8 of those were starts last year. He's a young man who is from where they play football between the hedges. You've been down there to see the Georgia Bulldogs play in Athens?
I have not.
Boy, what a nice place to watch a football game.
I've seen him play other places, the Georgia Bulldogs, but not there. Now here, that's a great spot. Down in Athens, Georgia, right?
Yes, it is.
One to Brandon Phillips. So far in the game, Brandon hit by a pitch and bounced out to third in the third. Reds with a 4-2 lead as they bat in the home half of the 5th inning. Big crowd, beautiful day here in Cincinnati. A rare 4-10 first pitch, and that's ball 4 to Brandon Phillips, and the leadoff man aboard. As you continue to tweet your photos using hashtag #OhioFanPhoto. Let's take a look at our fan photo of the game brought to you by AT&T. Look at that. Brandon Phillips came over to take a picture. Now, where is that game? That is clearly not in Cincinnati. The Reds are in their road gray, and all the seats in the background are green. Not sure where that was. Maybe Pittsburgh? Jay Bruce, a sac fly RBI, his first time up, walked and stole a base in the 3rd inning. And on the outside corner, crowd not sure about that. Neither was Jay Bruce, but that's what Chris Guccione says. 1-1.
Looks like he's got a little bit of run on that fastball. Likes to sink it down, and boy, he's getting the benefit of the zone there. Those pitches almost in identical spots. Still in the middle of the Major League Baseball draft. I think we're into the 3rd day now. And Martin was a first-round draft pick. He was drafted by the Dodgers in 2008. And a few years after he was drafted, he was traded to the Philadelphia Phillies in exchange a deal that included Shane Victorino going the other way.
2-1 to count on Jay Bruce. And in the air down the left field line over near the stands. And a foul ball. Milwaukee has come right back, scoring 3 times to take a 4-2 lead over the Pirates. That game in the 5th inning. Colorado Rockies are trying to end an 8-game losing streak. And they lead the Dodgers at the end of 5, 3-0. Of course, these Phillies last night had a 6-game losing streak come to an end behind Cole Hamels. 3-2 now on Jay Bruce. We started to talk last night. It was this time a week ago when, due to weather problems from a series earlier in the year, the Phillies had to play the New York Mets in what turned out to be a 5-game series. The second game went 14. The third game went 14. The fourth game went 11. The Phillies lost the second and third of those games, which began their 6-game losing streak. And then in the fifth and final game of that 5-game series, they just got hammered by the New York Mets. 11-2. Driven into deep right center field, and that is gone for Jay Bruce. And that is his 100th career home run here at Great American Ballpark.
Congratulations to Jay Bruce on this long drive. And it has been a long time coming for Jay Bruce. 25-game homerless streak for Bruce, going all the way back to April the 20th. Maybe that'll get him going here on a little bit of a roll. A good swing on that ball.
So the Reds now with a 6-2 lead. Well, you can look at a calendar and you can certainly look back to April the 20th, but you can rest assured we might think it's a long time since that last home run. For Jay Bruce, it's felt like double that amount of time. Because, of course, during a chunk of that period, he was out for 2.5 weeks on the disabled list following knee surgery. Reds have scored in 4 of the 5 innings here today, after coming into this game having not scored in 17 straight innings. And after a walk and a home run, Martin has now walked Devin Mesoraco. That is 7 walks in the 2 games against the Phillies. And to put that into perspective, the Reds in 13 games prior to this series had walked only 14 times.
I would imagine that part of that conversation right now for Bob McClure is to say, you know, the easiest way to get a ticket back to Lehigh Valley is to not throw strikes.
Do you know any pitching coach that has ever said that to, I mean, anybody ever say that to you on the mound? They come out and say, hey, look here.
No. They would say, you know that Babe Ruth is dead? I say, yeah. They say, well, then throw strikes. I mean, don't be afraid to pitch to anybody because the main man's gone. You ever heard that?
I've never heard that. I'm going to use it, though.
I steal all my stuff. You might as well, too.
May as well. Todd Frazier, a home run, a single, a stolen base. Here's a home run in the second inning. Deep, deep left center field.
Well, you can see the reaction of Hernandez on that. I mean, he immediately just dropped his head knowing that ball was destined to be out of here. That's the pitch right there. The key pitch. Gets behind on the count. Pitcher would waste a pitch, and the previous Todd Frazier would be flailing wildly at it. And I think his concentration, his work with Don Long has paid off in trying to recognize that slider, that waste pitch, and just staying off of it.
Now tipped into the mid for strike 3, 1 away in the inning. So if he laid the Babe Ruth line on it, 3 of his next 4 pitches were strikes.
I think the bus ticket line may have worked even more effectively there. You want to go back and pitch for the Iron Pigs? Or you want to stay right here in Philly?
Zach Cozart bounced out to the mound in the 2nd inning and had that run scoring double to right center field to snap the 2-2 tie in the 4th inning. Reds have doubled the amount of runs they have scored in their last 3 games combined through just 4+ innings in this one today against Hernandez and Martin. Runner goes and it's popped up. Utley finding the ball, back pedals into right field to get it. 2 out in the inning. And Ramon Santiago coming up.
You know, we were talking about injuries. Matt Latos, Joey Vado, a guy who's had a ton of injuries, as we just saw make that catch to Chase Utley. I mean, over the years, he's had hip surgery, he's got chronic knee problems, he's had, you know, bone-on-bone problems with knees, all sorts of different conditions with those knees, and they never really thought that he would be able to come back and perform at the level that he has been playing at. The guy's played through a lot of pain in his career.
You know, I thought it was interesting going back to before last season began when Utley decided to completely change his entire workout regimen. It used to be a lot of weights, and it would be some running, and it would be the normal things that most of us would try to do to just stay in shape. Of course, his would be much more advanced than any of us are. I shouldn't speak for all of you at home, but you know, he made the decision that he was just going to go back to doing a lot of baseball sort of activities. As far as his workout regimen was concerned, he was going to hit more. He was going to run like you would run the bases more. He's going to do a lot more agility stuff as you would move from side to side, say like a basketball defender would do, but much like an infielder will do as they're in pursuit of a ground ball to their left or right. And apparently it's worked pretty well with whatever else he's doing, because he has been healthy now for a year and a half. Fly ball into left, and that'll end the inning. A 2-run home run by Bruce, and the Reds lead by 4.
Sundays are family days at Great American Ballpark. Every Sunday home game, take advantage of the Reach Magazine family deal and see your Redlegs in action. When one member of the family purchases a full price ticket, they'll get the option to purchase 3 additional tickets at half price. Plus, every Sunday home game features a kids giveaway. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS. Visit select Kroger locations or log on to reds.com/family. Jim Day back with you, and you boys are talking about the 3rd day of the first-year MLB draft, and well, a name kind of stuck out today that was drafted. Did you check it out? It was a shortstop listed at Texas A&M, drafted by the San Diego Padres. His name is Johnny Manziel.
Yes.
Even though Johnny Manziel never played baseball for the Aggies, the San Diego Padres drafted him today. It begs the question, is the draft too long, or are they doing this for publicity?
It's a very good couple of questions there. I don't know the answer. What do you think about that?
Well, hey, you know, if it's me, you got a question, you got to make a decision. You want to play for the Cleveland Browns, or do you want to play in San Diego? That's a no-brainer.
You're right. I'm playing for the Brownies. Kidding me? If the San Diego Padres are the best team in Major League Baseball, and the Cleveland Browns are the best team in the NFL, the fandom, no contest. None. Now, living in San Diego, Cleveland, why would we even debate it? San Diego compared to most places. But if you're the man and they're good, it'll be rocking and rolling in Cleveland, Ohio, brother.
Are they that good?
No, they're not. I'm just saying if both of them were neither the Padres.
So if you're going to play on a bad team, why don't you play out in San Diego? I mean, you can use the beach all year round.
That one's lined into left field, and we have a 1-run ball game. Or I beg your pardon, after the Reds just got those 2, we have a 3-run ball game on a home run by Carlos Ruiz.
And we talked a little bit about his power earlier. I mean, he's a catcher who's batting in the 2nd spot in the lineup, mainly because he takes a lot of pitches, but he's really good at hitting a high pitch, and that's where normally his home runs come from. And I think he gets one that's up there above the waist that time and just lines it right out of here. So all the runs the Phillies have had today off of Alfredo Simon on the long ball. I think if I'm not mistaken, that's the first run that Alfredo Simon has given up this year after the 4th inning. So normally if he gets to the 4th inning, obviously, I mean, he's been lights out.
You know, the only 2 bad starts Alfredo has had all year long, it was ugly pretty much right from the very beginning. The game here on May the 10th against Colorado, when in 3 innings he allowed 8 hits and 5 earned runs. And then on our last road trip out in Los Angeles, in 3 2/3 he gave up 5 hits and 5 earned runs. Every other start he's made, 3 runs or less, and only once was it 3 runs. His most recent start in the win over Arizona. Everything else 2 or less. Hard hit ball, but Brandon right there. 1 out.
Boy, I'll tell you what, you know, we get to watch Brandon Phillips on a daily basis. Phillies fans get to watch Chase Utley. He got 2 of the better second basemen in baseball right here playing against each other this series. And I wonder if there's any extra satisfaction on the part of Brandon Phillips to take that hit away from Utley, the other second baseman.
Well, the one thing that is certainly unique, and I'm not only talking about unique between those 2 players, because we've talked about some of the injuries that Utley has been through. It's not like it's, you know, a little thing here, a little thing there. But when you talk about durability from a second baseman in the history of Major League Baseball, you've got Brandon Phillips right near the top of that list all time, as there's a base hit into right field by Ryan Howard. Brandon Phillips has the second longest streak in Major League Baseball history behind Hall of Famer Nellie Fox of consecutive years of playing in 140 or more games at second base. He has done it each of the last 8 years. Nellie Fox did it in 12 in a row. And we know that Brandon Phillips has played through more than just some aches and pains from time to time.
Well, take just last year, for instance, when he was hit on the wrist, and you know, his production went down, his batting average went way down. For a while there, he couldn't even feel his hand, because after he was hitting the forearm with a baseball, I mean, he had a contusion there that just wouldn't go away. A couple of years ago, I think he played a month and a half with a broken finger.
Yep.
The tip of your finger, where it just took forever to heal. He's not coming out of the lineup. So I mean, if you're waiting to play, if you're an everyday player and you're waiting till you get to be 100% before you play, you're only going to be 100% the first couple of days you come back and play. From then on, you're dealing with nicks and bruises and aches and pains.
That is why I still, more than anything else that took place, that I just will never forget that took place during this winter, and it was while we were on the Reds Caravan. And the MLB Network had that series going where you pick the top 10 at each position in Major League Baseball. And of, say, 10 guys that they were using to put together their top 10. As there's a ground ball down to third. There's one. And unable to double up Marlon Byrd. 2 away in the inning. And of the 10 panelists that put this thing together, 8 of the 10 did not have Brandon Phillips listed as one of the top 10 second basemen in the game. And I remember being on the Reds Caravan and sitting there with Walt Jocketty and sitting there with Phil Castellini and sitting there with Corky Miller. Homer Bailey was there for a little while. Jay Bruce was there for a little while. And all of us are sitting there looking at one another as they went off from each panel member to each panel member, and like, you gotta be kidding. That ball driven to the right center field gap by Dominic Brown. They're going to wave around Marlon Byrd. Here comes the throw to the plate. Crash, runner out. And for those 8 guys that talked about Brandon Phillips not being one of the top 10, take a look at plays like this one right here. I don't know what game you're watching, but it ain't the same game that we're watching.
Well, they're calling the Reds back out onto the field, or at least onto the area in foul territory, so that they can take the field quickly. If in the opinion of the guys in New York, that Mesoraco blocked the home plate without the baseball.
And all you got to do is give him part of the plate.
I think Mesoraco gave him part of the plate. And I think the fans maybe, as they're looking at it on the big board here, may be misinterpreting what you're looking at. But if you're looking at this play, you have to ask yourself, is Mesoraco giving him any part of the plate? And we'll have to see how they rule this. We haven't had one of these yet. Now he's got the ball and he can block the plate. But as he's waiting for the ball in there, you've got to show a little bit of the plate to the runner as he's coming towards home.
It's almost bang bang, because as we go back and look at it, Mesoraco is giving him part of the plate until that ball bounces one time.
Right.
And then he has to go to his left to glove it. So there you see he's giving him part, now has to go get it. I'd be stunned if they,
I would be too,
changed any part of this.
on the other hand, Marlon Byrd did not go out of his way to hunt Devin Mesoraco and try to jar the ball out of the way. And that's one of the reasons they have this rule, really to protect the catcher. It was kind of a semi-slide collision at home plate.
Well, it went Billy Hamilton to Brandon Phillips, who made an absolutely perfect throw to the plate. One hop to the third base side of the plate, where Mesoraco just sticks a glove out and puts a tag on the runner before the collision. Now, here's a rule. Runner may not deviate from his direct pathway to the plate to initiate contact. If the umpire decides the runner initiated contact, runner is out. The third part's a big one. Catcher must have possession of the ball to block the pathway of the runner trying to score. And if he decides that the catcher without the ball blocked the pathway of the runner would be safe, and he's out.
Well done, New York.
Hamilton to Phillips to Mesoraco, and now Ryan Sandberg has been thrown out of the game. We saw this with Brian Price earlier this year, where once a decision is rendered from replay, you cannot come back out and ask the umpires about any part of the call. It's an automatic ejection. Sports Ohio brought to you by JTM Food Group. Let's create great dishes together. By Toyota. For over 30 Toyota offers, visit buyatoyota.com. By B-Dub. Spend $30 on a gift card for dads and grads. They'll give you a $5 bonus. Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, and sports.
Well, we'll show you another look at the collision at home plate, and this is what Ryan Sandberg was thrown out for. He was adamant that Devin Mesoraco did not give Marlon Byrd any part of the plate, but upon review in New York, he was ruled out. The play stands, and when Ryan Sandberg went back out to argue the call, the umpire said, "Don't come out here." So we went to break, and now Ryan Sandberg is taking a shower.
Well, after giving up the run on 3 base hits, and there were some hard hit balls in that 6th inning, Brian Price has made the decision. The day is over for Alfredo Simon. Roger Bernardino going to bat for him to begin the bottom of the 6th inning. 6 innings, 7 hits, 3 runs all earned. He did not walk a batter, struck out 3. And Alfredo in line for what would be his 8th win of this year. And if you're wondering where that would put him in and among National Leaguers, he would be in a tie for the most wins in the league with Madison Bumgarner, Zach Greinke, and Adam Wainwright.
So should we start talking about Alfredo Simon in terms of All-Star game?
I don't know how you wouldn't. I mean, he's had 2 starts that were bad. And now he has 10 starts where in only 2 of the 10 did he allow 3 runs. In the other 8, he allowed 2 or less. I mean, doesn't he have to be at least in a conversation?
Now that's where sometimes where wins, I mean, they have not deceiving for him, but they're deceiving for, say, other guys on this ball club like Johnny Cueto and Mike Leake. Now Johnny Cueto right now, even after giving up runs last night, 3rd in the league. His third run average is still under 2.
Hamilton to bunt in front of the plate, and they throw him out. I mean, don't you have to put him in the conversation when you've won 8 games with an ERA right at 3?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, his earned run average will go up a tick today. He came in today 15th in the league in ERA. He'll be tied for a league in wins if the Reds hold on. I mean, he doesn't have some of the sizzle stats like strikeouts and that kind of stuff, but man, is he getting the job done this year for the Reds.
1, 2, 3 go the Reds. We're off to the 7th where the Reds lead the Phillies 6-3. Summary, Reds had a 1-0 lead, and then in the 2nd inning, Marlon Byrd, a 2-run home run. Philadelphia in front, didn't last long. First batter in the bottom of the inning, Todd Frazier plays long ball, and that tied the game at 2. After a Frazier single and a stolen base in the 4th inning, Zach Cozart broke the tie with a double into right center field. Billy Hamilton would add a sac fly in that same inning. And then Jay Bruce, his first home run since April the 20th, and his 100th career home run here at Great American Ballpark. That came with Brandon Phillips aboard. The Phillies got a run on a home run by Cruz in the 6th. And here we are in the top of the 7th inning, where the Reds have a 3-run lead, and taking over now for Alfredo Simon is right-hander J.J. Hoover.
And little by little, J.J. Hoover really getting it together. He's given up a 1 run in the last 3 weeks. And that was a 2-inning stint where he gave up a run in Arizona. The next slight bobble will cost him a base runner. That bunt was so hard, and JJ's got to be thinking, man, if I just get bent over, I can reach down there and get that ball and make an easy play of it.
All right, now Ben Revere, you got to watch out for a bunt for this guy. Revere, one of the fastest players in all of Major League Baseball. I mean, he's not there with Billy Hamilton, but he can really, really run. Broken bat roller. Look out, JJ. And Brandon will take the out to his left. That bat went flying right by J.J. Hoover as he finished his follow through. Hernandez to second, 1 out in the inning.
Well, saw job right here. I mean, the head of the bat is going all over the place, and there was a lot coming right out there at Brandon Phillips. Bat head short of where he fielded that ball, but Philly thought about going to second base, but they get Revere at first.
Reed Brignac got the nod at third base here last night. Wound up going 0 for 3, also drew a walk. He'll come up and pinch hit for Martin, who went 2 innings, allowed a hit. That was a Jay Bruce home run that came with a man aboard. Struck out 3 and walked about it. Now Hoover getting the sign from Mesoraco. Hernandez at second, 1 out in the 7th inning, and a breaking ball down and into Brignac. That fastball at 94 right by him. Came back with another fastball at 94 on the inside corner. Well, things apparently are going from bad to worse for Colorado. We think the Reds have been struggling. We told you the Rockies have lost 8 in a row. They have just given up a 3-0 lead. 4-3 Dodgers now in the 7th inning. And the Dodgers apparently have had a couple of pretty significant injuries in that game today. Swing and a miss. That's all for Brignac. D. Gordon had to leave the game today with discomfort in his right hip, and Yasiel Puig sustained a hip flexor strain on a slide. He had to leave the game today. Of course, the Dodgers will be rolling in here tomorrow night to begin a series on Monday. Now Jimmy Rollins 0 for 3 in a game. Liner to second base and a pair of fly balls to Hamilton in center. Our steel power tool performer. We told you Ohio University's very own Michael Jack Schmidt, the Phillies all-time hits leader, and Jimmy Rollins 7 behind him from breaking it, 6 from tying. And then the great Richie Ashburn, who spent a lot of his career with Philadelphia, not all of it. Rollins and Schmidt have spent, or did spend, their entire careers with the Philadelphia Phillies. So Mike Schmidt is broadcasting Phillies home games on Sundays this year. So I'd imagine you saw him when you were in there a few weeks ago, right?
He was kind of in and out of there very late. I didn't get a chance to talk to him. But a lot of Phillies fans look forward to when Mike Schmidt shows up at that ballpark. Where they were once booing him, not at that park, but in Philadelphia, they now all seek his autograph. How soon they forget.
2-1 the count. I don't know about how soon it was. Here's a pitch to Rollins, and that's trouble. In the air right field. Bruce hit the wall. Goodbye. A 2-run home run off the bat of Jimmy Rollins, and all of a sudden what was a 6-2 lead is now a 1-run game.
Now he just got a fastball just out over the plate right there, and just a nice easy swing by Rollins. Short porch and right. That ball only landed in the first or second row, but counted for 2. And now they'll face Carlos Ruiz, who hit one his last time up.
Two and one the count on Ruiz. And now the count even. When Bruce hit the home run with Phillips aboard in the 5th inning, that made it a 4-run Reds lead. But Ruiz a home run off Alfredo Simon in his final inning of work in the 6th. And now a 2-out, 2-run home run after a leadoff bunt. Comes off the bat of Jimmy Rollins. And it is 3-2 now on Ruiz. Aroldis Chapman is already starting to throw the ball against a wall in the Reds bullpen, and we're only in the 7th inning. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that will not take Brian Price very much time at all. I mean, he was 2 steps on out of that dugout, but he's already made a motion of the bullpen, and a very uncharacteristic outing for J.J. Hoover. He had been on pretty much of a roll since May the 15th. But today, not his day, and a 1-run game, and Manny Parra will come in.
So be our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. Parra v. Utley when we return. With Stand Up to Cancer, a groundbreaking initiative created to accelerate innovative cancer research and gets new therapies to patients quickly in order to save lives right now. For more information, visit foxsportsupports.com. J.J. Hoover allows a 2-run home run to make it a 1-run game and then walks the next batter. So out he goes, and in comes Manny Parra.
Manny Parra in for the 27th game. He has faced Chase Utley before, and that's who he will face here in this first batter this inning. Utley 3 for 10 with 1 run batted in, 4 strikeouts, 3 walks in his previous plate appearances against the Reds left-hander.
That ball drilled into right center field, and that will go up against the wall. And they're going to wave around the runner Ruiz. Here comes a throw to the plate, and did he get him? He got it! What a play by Mesoraco! What a play, what a play! Our John Morrell hot dog plays of the game. Hamilton to Phillips to Mesoraco.
Well, he has done this 2 times. Here's the first one right there with Carlin Bird out at the plate. And if he didn't get it the first time, he'll do it again for you. Here's Billy Hamilton and a strong throw by Brandon Phillips. Great catch and tag by Devin Mesoraco. And man, the Reds defense has risen to the occasion today. Our John Morrell hot dog plays of the game. Well, that got the fans excited here. We got a big crowd here this afternoon, and how often does it happen? Guy makes a great play, and he leads the inning off. It'll be Brandon Phillips against Justin DeFreitas. 58 games last year. Here is his 12th game of the season this year.
Well, De Freitas, for the first time in his major league career, made an opening day major league roster. They wound up sending him back down to the minor leagues, and since he's come back up, he's thrown the ball very well. That was perhaps a game-saving play right there, turned in by the Reds defense. Now, there aren't many catchers that you use the word athletic to describe, and the Reds had a catcher at one time that might have been the most athletic catcher that I've ever seen. That would be Benito Santiago. Very, very athletic behind the plate, the way he would move and plays he would make. But that was a pretty doggone athletic play right there made by Mesoraco.
You know, there are some catchers more than others that are always good at catching and tagging at the plate. Jason LaRue comes to mind as a guy that was really good at those tag plays at the plate. Swipe tag, sometimes blocking the plate, but more often than not, short hopping up, catching a short hop and making a tag. But Devin Mesoraco, what he's done today, he's had 2 really tough short hops on strong throws that he just made miraculous tags on. This last one is really worth another look. I mean, holding on to the baseball, it's a snow cone by the time he finishes up. Boy, he's lucky he didn't get his arm taken off right there. That left arm hanging out there. The runner really doesn't know what's going on. He sees the ball coming, but he doesn't really know where the catcher is because he's just heading towards home. Brandon thought that one got him.
One and 2 on Brandon Phillips, to be followed by Jay Bruce and then Devin Mesoraco. High pop up down the left field line over near the stands. And almost gloved by Rollins.
Off a fan's hand. I'll tell you who's beating himself up right now is Pete McCannon, third base coach, for having 2 guys thrown out at the plate. But both of those plays, I mean, you got to send them. Just really good defense on the part of the Reds, which has been their calling card all year.
Rollins to his feet, the throw, and there's a little defense on the Philadelphia side. Mighty slick play right there made by Jimmy Rollins.
Boy, how quick does he get up? I mean, he get over and field this ball. He takes about 6 steps to get there. And he dives, and look how quickly he bounces to his feet. That's the only sport where you see that type of play on, you know? Where you dive and how quickly you get up is so important. Can you think of another?
No, I mean, not like that, where you're going to have to turn around and make a bang play. You're 100% right. The only time that I can think of where you'll see guys dive and then get back up in a hurry to start to run again is maybe if you see an interception, you know, in a football game where a guy dives to make an interception, and then he's not touched and he gets back up, but not to make another full half of a play like a baseball player does. I mean, the dive is half the play. Then you got to get up and make the throw to finish it. It's a big league play. Swing and a miss by Bruce, and he's out on strikes. Astros. 3 runs batted in the game today, including a 2-run home run. You know, those are, I think, the kind of things when you see Rollins get up like that. I don't know about for you anymore because you've been around it so long, but when I watch a guy dive like that and then, like you pointed out, get up like that, for guys of us now, you know, the 50-something crowd, I'm being sincere when I say this. I mean, Jimmy Rollins is not 50. Jimmy Rollins is not 40. But Jimmy Rollins in his late 30s. And, I mean, you know, go out in your backyard if it's wet and then just, you know, sort of dive on your belly and try to pop back up. And these guys make it look like, now these are some of the greatest athletes in the world, and Rollins has been one of the better athletes in the game for a long, long time. But, man, just to see guys do things like that are the things that amaze me.
I got an idea. You know, I understand.
Whatever it is, it's no already.
After the ball game tonight, I understand you're going to a lawn party. Why don't you challenge some of the guys in the neighborhood to do just that?
I think it's a great idea. And work about midnight.
Make sure
then maybe we can talk some of the wives into it as well.
Why not? You'll have a bucket of ice there, obviously.
There might be.
If you skin your knee or something, you can always, you know, apply a little ice.
Or just jump in there.
I think there's some guys that might be doing it out there right now.
There's a very good chance of that.
Maybe I'll come out and be the judge.
I think that is a splendid idea.
Because what you want to do is what Rollins did is when he jumped up, he landed on both feet at the same time. It's not one leg and then the other foot. Okay.
and in between. 3-2 on Mesoraco.
Don't forget to empty your pockets first. That big billfold of yours.
Oh, yeah. 3-2 on Devin Mesoraco. And he went around. That'll end the inning. So the Reds are gone in order. We're on our way to the 8th inning. Probably Jonathan Broxton time. Reds lead by a run.
With the family and cheer on your Red Legs at the half-price Reach Magazine family ticket offer. Plus, the first 8,000 kids 14 and younger receive a Kids Brandon Phillips growth chart. It's thanks to College Advantage. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS. Visit select Kroger locations or reds.com/family. And I'm Jim Day. Earlier in the season, we told you about the wives' favorite things basket raffle and auction. Well, today it was the players' favorite things basket auction. It went through the 7th inning today, and I was out there earlier this afternoon checking it out, and each basket included a signed jersey, a signed baseball, 4 tickets to a future game, and then hometown items. Then I saw some things like favorite foods of the players, iPods, DVDs of their favorite shows and movies, men's grooming products I even saw on there, some barbecue sauce and so much more. But we salute the wives and the players for doing this. Last year they raised almost $10,000. I'm sure they'll do about the same. And all the proceeds go to the Battle Buddy Foundation, which provides service dogs for veterans that need it. So we salute the wives and the players.
Sure do. They, you know, generally you go around Major League Baseball and the players' wives do a lot of great work and help raise money for charity. So well done, ladies. Congratulations. So big Jonathan Broxton with a 1-run lead. And the first pitch he throws in the inning is a fly ball to left field. Caught up against the wall by Schumacher. Oh, boy.
Anytime Ryan Howard gets the ball in the air with what looks like a pretty good swing, you hold your breath. He got out on the end of the bat just a little bit. A nice play by Schumacher.
Now Marlon Byrd, he had a 2-run home run to left field off Alfredo Simon in the second inning. And then he was the one thrown out of the plate the first go-round that went from Billy Hamilton to Brandon Phillips to Devin Mesoraco. Byrd 1 of 5 in his career against Jonathan Broxton. One and one on Marlon Byrd. Broxton a long time looking into Mesoraco for the sign and now ready to go. Break-even pitch coming to Byrd. From a 92-mile-per-hour fastball and fouled back to the screen.
That's a good spot right there. You're ahead 1 and 2. You're trying to expand the strike zone. You get a little slider just off the corner.
Got him swinging for the second out here in the 8th inning. A reminder, you can win your way to NASCAR's Quaker State 400 in the Kentucky Speedway Getaway Sweepstakes on board the Fan Express. Enter today's chase. Chase is a keyword. Chase. At FoxSportsOhio.com. Stay tuned every day for a new keyword and a new chance to win. So 2 away here in the Philadelphia 8th inning. Reds lead by a run. And now Dominic Brown. 2 out of 3 in the game. Strike 1.
Well, that's a nice pitch. When you've got the guy backing off out of the plate and you can bring the fastball back and catch the corner, that plate seems awfully wide right now.
1-1 on Dominic Brown, an all-star season ago. And a bouncer back up through the middle and into center field. A 2-out hit. Third hit of the game for Dominic Brown. So the inning will continue for the third baseman, Cesar Hernandez.
You're getting down to the part of the order where the home run ball is really not much of a factor, but it was Hernandez that scratched out a base hit on a bunt his last time up, and then came home on the home run by Rollins.
A big out here for Jonathan Broxton and the Reds, trying to come to bat in the bottom of the 8th inning, still with that 1-run lead. And Broxton a glance over his shoulder and down to the plate, and that's low ball 1 to Hernandez. Hernandez has had a good day. Had a single in the left field, his second at bat in the 5th inning, and he was a guy you may remember that bunted that ball virtually back to the mound. The J.J. Hoover was unable to field, and it turned into a bunt hit, and Hernandez was aboard when Jimmy Rollins played long ball to make it a 1-run game. One and one on Hernandez. Dominic Brown 4 of 5 in stolen base attempts on the year. Broxton now set for the 1-1 on Cesar Hernandez. Way outside, 2 balls and a strike. On the ground to Cozart, he'll go the short way to Phillips, and naturally a scoreless 8th inning for Jonathan Broxton. Reds lead by a run. a wild game and a fun game. Seen a little bit of everything here today. Spectacular Reds defense. The offense has finally come alive. I mean, they only have 5 hits, but they do have 6 runs. And they will bat here in the bottom of the 8th inning with a 1-run lead. DeFreitas still on the mound. He worked a 1-2-3 7th inning. Todd Frazier has 2 of the 5 Reds hits in the game. Philadelphia has 11 hits. But there's only one column up there that matters at the end of the day. The rest of them are just eyewash. Frazier a home run, a single, a stolen base, a run scored, struck out his last time up. 0-2.
Well, the home run ball was up and out over the plate, and Todd Frazier hit it hard. Our Nissan drive of the game. You can see the reaction by the pitcher, Roberto Hernandez, immediately just dropped his head, knowing that ball not coming back.
See, obviously our producer Joshua Hall is not paying attention to his crew members as Frazier has his 3rd hit of the afternoon. Because I thought Joe Luckham had the best idea I've heard in a long time. The Nissan drive of the game should have been following Joey Vado to Pawtucket.
We have enough time for that?
Little bits and pieces of it. I understand we're under a time crunch, but at least maybe the car pulling out of Great American Ballpark. Hoping to get Joey Votto back and healthy again and ready enough to contribute to the major league club sooner rather than later. Cozart down a strike. One and one to Kozai. Look out, 2 balls and a strike.
You may wonder, maybe this part of the order, probably not if you're thinking at home unless you're thinking about pinch hitters, but hit and run right here, try to play a little add-on, take it right to him. 2-1 count, figuring you're going to get a strike.
Let's see here. Frazier not going on a pitch, and it's a ground ball down to third, which should be a double play, and it is. So the base is empty, 2 are out, and coming up after the game and after every game here on Fox Sports Ohio, we'll break it all down. Jim Day standing by along with Jeff Pecoro for Reds Live, brought to you by King's Honda. We're hoping down in the Fox Sports condominium that be a little bit livelier environment at the conclusion of this one today, as the Reds are looking to try and end this 3-game losing streak. 1-2 on Ramon Santiago. If you're looking ahead of the Philadelphia ninth inning, they'll have Ben Revere, followed by the pitcher spot, and then you roll back over to the top of the order in Jimmy Rollins, and we will unquestionably see, unless there's something that we don't know about it, Aroldis Chapman to try and nail it down. Breaking ball too low. 2-2 on Santiago. Fly ball short left field. Dominic Brown in to get it, and here we go to the ninth. Aroldis Chapman 3 outs away from the end of a 3-game skid. Finale, and the Reds are hoping it's a rubber game of the series. Reds Live gets underway at 12:30. David Buchanan, a young right-hander on the mound for Philadelphia. Homer Bailey starting to settle in rather nicely of late. Will be gunning for his 7th win of the year. We invite you to come on down to the ballpark. If not, join us right here on Fox Sports Ohio. Couple of changes. Brian Pena comes into the game. He'll play first base, moving Todd Frazier back to his regular home. And now taking over on the mound, trying to close it out, 7 of 8 in save chances, Aroldis Chapman.
Typical numbers for Chapman, and I'm really talking about the innings pitched and the strikeouts right here. I mean, those are the kind of numbers that you expect out of a flamethrower like Chapman. And what I thought was very impressive is the other day that he came into a ball game was not a save situation, but it looked like he was working on his stuff. Threw a lot of changeups, threw a lot of breaking balls, and also topped it out 102, I think, to finish the ball game. So Chapman hopefully is on the beam and sends the Reds home right here with a W. And he will face the bottom of the order. They've got some speed down here. Revere and then a pinch hitter.
So Ben Revere to lead things off. He is 0 for 2 in the game. He's put down a sacrifice bunt. And ball 1 away. Chapman, that is the 92nd pitch he has thrown this year already. It's been clocked at 99 miles per hour or higher. That one at 100 on the radar gun. There's another one. The next closest is Kelvin Herrera with 51. Almost half the number. Chapman will hit 100 of those in this inning. There's 3 of them to begin the inning. Fly ball left field, 1 out. Ronnie Cedeno will come up and pinch hit for the pitcher DeFreitas, who gives him 2 innings of 1-hit shutout baseball out of their bullpen. Cedeno's been around a long time. In his 10th major league season is Ronnie Cedeno. 101 on the outside edge. Strike 1.
Oh. You know, when you're facing Chapman and he throws 100 miles an hour, you're swinging at the arm speed. I mean, you're starting your swing just about that arm comes up around his ear. So when he throws the changeup on you, or the slider in that case, it makes you look terrible. Nothing you can do about it. It's not like you're practicing pitch recognition on Aroldis Chapman.
That last one at 102 miles per hour. Oh, and 2 on Cedeno. On the ground to Phillips. And 2 away here in the top of the 9th inning.
Now let's take a look at this at bat against Ronnie Cedeno by Aroldis Chapman, or Mazda, pitch by pitch, coming with the heat right there. That was over 100 miles an hour. And then unfair, an 89-mile-an-hour slider. Foul off the pitch, only to get him 1 inning, 1 pitch later on that ground ball. So 3 fastballs out of 4 there for Aroldis Chapman and a Mazda pitch by pitch.
Now Jimmy Rollins had a first pitch slider in there, strike 1. A slider at 90 miles per hour. And then you break out the cambio.
At 90. 90. Oh, wait, take a little off it.
Oh, and 2 on Rollins. Then you come back with 103.
Wow, gracious. I mean, even Mesoraco couldn't adjust to that.
1-2 to Rollins. And now the count even. Well, we know Rollins has plenty of pop in that bat. It's a 1-run lead, 1 out to go, top of the 9th inning. And now full count with the always dangerous Carlos Ruiz waiting in the on-deck circle. Ruiz has already hit a home run of the game today. So is Rollins. Swing and a miss, and that's all. The Reds have won it. 6-5 our final.
That's a good team victory today, Tom. You mentioned earlier of all the different parts of baseball that we saw today. Great fielding, great pitching, some home run balls. Overall, a real good victory. Finally, the Reds on the smiling part of a 1-run ball game.
Indeed they are. 6-5 our final. We'll back with more from Great American Ballpark in a moment.